Hello, so we are on the second law, which is the law of acceleration. So we are done with the first law, which is the law of inertia. So we'll say covered sa inertia. Ang covered sa inertia is if the velocity is zero. It is at rest. So the velocity is zero. And if the velocity is zero, it is at rest. And if it is at rest, it stays at rest. Mao na siya ang, let's say, the that is the core of the second law. Ano siyang core sa second law. If an object is at rest, the velocity is zero, then it will stay at rest. Now, if an object is, let's say, nasa motion, nasa velocity, then an object is in motion. Let's say that the velocity is 5 meters per second. Then it will continue at that speed and in that direction kung asa man siya padulong. No? So, mo na siya ang, let's say, that is the core of the first law, or the law of inertia, na an object at rest will stay at rest, an object in motion will stay in motion. And both of them have zero acceleration, because if your object is at rest, the velocity is zero, therefore the acceleration is zero. Now, if your object is in motion, let's say it has 5 meters per second of velocity. So with that, kay mo stay man siya in motion with the same speed and direction. So it means your velocity of 5 meters per second will stay constant. So if your velocity is constant, your acceleration is also zero. No? So pareho sila nga zero ilang acceleration. And therefore, their forces are balanced. Pag balance ang forces, walay nabilin nga net force, then your acceleration is zero. That is, mao na siya ang kanang sa ato ang first law. Now, what if the forces are unbalanced? No? The forces are unbalanced na discuss nato last time na ay mga nabilin na mga net forces. No, naa siya bilin. Tawag na to nga net forces. Like this one. So, diri as sa situation A, na ay zero or balance ang iyahang both sides. Balance, balance. Vertical and horizontal. Walay nabilin. Zero. So, it means this follows the law of inertia. No? What if naa siya bilin? Just like this situation B. Naa siya 5 Newton to the left. What about that? Now, if naa siya bilin, the forces are unbalanced. Yes. So if the forces are unbalanced, na ay acceleration. So kung forces are balanced, it's zero. If it is unbalanced, then there is acceleration. No? Now, acceleration depends on two things. We have net force. Kung na siya nabili na net force, maka-affect siya sa imong acceleration. Kung dako imong net force, dako po ang imong acceleration. Now, acceleration also depends on the object's mass. Mas dako na object, mas lisod siya i-accelerate. No? Or mas gamay na object, mas dali siya i-accelerate. So it means acceleration is sa directly proportional sa net force. What do I mean by directly proportional? Kung mo-double si net force, mo double pod si acceleration. Kung mo increase si net force, mo increase pod si acceleration. That's what it means, directly proportional. And sa mass pod, sa object's mass, they are inversely proportional. So kung mo taas si mass or mo increase si mass, si acceleration kay mo baba. Okay, they are inverse. Okay? So that is what it means sa ato ang second law. No? Second law, it is all about unbalance or walay na balance or naay nabilin sa imuhang mga forces during the free body diagram. No? So pag chart or pag drawing nimo sa imong free body diagram, naa siya nabilin nga forces. So naa siya nabilin na forces or naa siya nabilin na net force. So it means naa siya acceleration. So covered na siya sa second law. That's what it means. Now, sa second law of motion, Di ba ningon ta na acceleration is directly proportional to the net force and inversely proportional to the mass, mathematically expressed as this one. No? So acceleration is equal to F net divided by m. Mao na siya yung original form because that's what it means sa kaninga um kanina diagram, no? So that's what it means. So kung i-mathematical expression na siya, ingani na siya. Okay? But derive nato na sila and we come up with this more popular na version. So the second law is uh most probably kani ilang ginagamit na formula. The net force is equal to mass times acceleration. Same ra magyapon ang meaning. It means acceleration is directly proportional to the net force and inversely proportional to the mass, to the object's mass, not just any mass, okay? So, usa din na siya si net force. No, we have already discussed what is net force. But, permi na ta nag-discuss na ay net force, na nabilin, so din na siya si net force. Now, remember that net force is not the same as the total force. No? For example here, ang total forces ani is, let's say, 200 and 200. Kung i-add nato na sila, that is just 400 total forces. But, si net force man good is pila ang nabilin after nimo na cancel tanan or after nimo na after nimo na i-plus-star ang mga forces, tanaw sa nimo if nabay mabilin sa ilaha after nimo ma-cancel sila. Just like this one, they are both in horizontal siya. So pwede nato sila i-add if pareho sila nga direction or i-subtract if opposite sila og direction. So dapat sa free body diagram is same sila og axis. No, pareho sila og kanang plane. Let's say it is horizontal, then horizontal ra pud ang imong i-focus. Ayaw isagol si vertical nga forces o si horizontal nga forces because they have different axes. No? So dili nimo sila ma-add si vertical o si horizontal. Dapat si horizontal and horizontal ra or vertical and vertical. So dili pwede nato siya isagol si horizontal and vertical during the free body diagram. So pagtanaw kay net force, isa ra gyud sa ang imuhang tanahawon na plane or like axis before moving on to the other one. So here, they are both horizontal but they are opposite in direction. So it means isubtract nato sila from each other. The other one is 200, while their one pod is 200. So it means they have the net force of 0. Kaya walay mabilin sa ilaha because of they are opposite. Now here, on the second one, the second one has a force of 8 newtons and the second force is 6 newtons. Same sila og horizontal sila na forces and same sila og direction. No? So with that, pwede nato sila i-add. So 8 plus 6, we have 14 newtons. Okay? Then we have this one. They are also both horizontal pero nagsugat sila or they are opposing. They are opposite in direction. So 30 minus 28, by the way, kaning negative diri is just a direction. No? Kay daghay naglibog ana. Negative there is a direction. So it means it is going to the left or to the opposite sa 30. Kay 30 is positive man. So ang negative ana is kung mo-oppose siya sa positive na direction. I hope that is clear. No? So let's say that your object is going to the left. Tapos ang imuhang F net is negative. So it means mo-oppose siya atong motion nga going to the left. So na siya sa right. Ana no? So murag mo-oppose na sila. Basta kay na-establish na nimo kisa si positive, kisa si negative. Okay, kisa si positive, asa padulong si positive, asa padulong si negative. Ana na siya. Okay? So then F net is equal to ma, that is our second law, and F net is a kind of force or net force. No, net force is a kind of force. Therefore, it has a unit of Newton. No? Mass is in kilogram and acceleration is in meter per second squared. So it means, also meaning ana niya, para makamove ka og isa ka kilogram na object og 1 meter per second squared na acceleration, need nimo hatagan siya og 1 newton na force. Ana na siya ang iyahang pasabot, ana na formula. Okay? So, so na eh. Oh, okay. So this is like the relationship between the net force and the mass. No, sa ilang relationship to each other. So if we have net force na 10 and mass na 2, what will be our acceleration? Diba? F net, remember that F net is F net is equal to ma. I saw that most of you still has the hard time deriving deriving formula mentally. Na dali na nato siya dali na nato siya ma-solve, no? If ang net force gali ang ato ang given og ang mass, i-divide nimo ang F net sa mass. Okay? So that will be 10 and then 2. So it means 10 divided by 2. We can get the acceleration which is 5. Okay? Pag nag-atbang gali na sila, like this one, nag-atbang na sila, it means i-divide nimo ning pikas aning isa. Okay? Kani i-divide nimo si F net sa mass. Now, what will happen if your net force doubles pero same ra ang imuhang mass? Remember that net force and acceleration is directly proportional to each other. So, pag gidouble nimo si net force, ang imuhang 5 mo double put. So, it becomes 10. They're directly proportional. So, what happens to the net force also happen to the acceleration. Now, let's say that mo stay tag 20, pero atong mass kay double na to siya. What will happen to the acceleration? So mass and acceleration are inversely proportional to each other. If the mass doubles, the acceleration should half. Mao man na siya ang opposite sa ato ang double. Double, the opposite is half. Triple, the opposite is 1/3. Na quadruple, the opposite is 1/4. Ana na siya. No, so there, if it is doubled, then your acceleration is halved. Okay, I hope that is clear. Okay, now what? Oh wait, naglibog ko. So 4. Now here is wala tayo net force, but we have the mass and acceleration 2 and 5. Now using the acceleration formula, the law of acceleration formula, we just have to multiply the mass with acceleration. So 2 times 5, that is 10. Pag net force po ng acceleration, as you can see, they are nag-atbang sila sa ato ang equal. So you just have to divide them both. So 10 divided by 10, that is 1. So that kani siya is gonna explain ra nila. I know it's easy because this just explain the relationship between the net force, mass, and acceleration. So ilang mga relationship. No? So kung i-double ang isa, what will happen to this? If i-half ang isa, what will happen to this? So that's what it means. Okay? Okay. Now, remember that kung unsa tong nabilin nga net force, excuse me. Oh, sorry. Okay. So, kung unsa tong direction sa atong net force, maupod ang direction sa atong acceleration. If your net force, let's say, pareho to ang isa. Sorry. Okay, here. So, ang isa is 0, which is law of inertia. The other one is 900 newtons. And it's going up. So it means, if it is going up, na siya net force nga 900, then the acceleration of this body is also going up. Ano na siya ang sa net force. No? So usually the same sila og direction sa ato ang acceleration. So if the direction consider this two diagrams, this is what we call oil drop diagrams. Ang isa, you see here, ang isa kay it started out close, so it means gikan siya rest, then ni pick up siya og speed. So it means it is going to the right. So if the net force is going to the right, the acceleration is also going to the right. Kani siya is, it started out increasing, dako ang iyahang velocity, then ni arang siya og kagamay. So it means this car is actually slowing down. 'Di ba? Pag mag-slow down ang isa ka car, it means its acceleration is negative. Or nag-decelerate siya. So once nag-decelerate siya, it is actually opposing the motion. So kung siya is padulong siya dito as a right, and then it is slowing down, the acceleration is going to the left. Okay, padulong siya right, pero nag-slow down man siya, nag-decelerate siya. So it means it is going, the acceleration is going to the opposite direction or the left. Okay. So determine the accelerations when the result when 12 Newton force or 12 Newton net force is applied to a 3 kilogram object and then to a 6 kilogram object. So bale, sa object 1, which is 3 kilogram, just have to divide 12 with 3. So ang iyahang acceleration is 4. No? Acceleration niya is 4 meter per second squared. Now the second object, which has a mass of 6 kilogram, yan siya dire. So 12 divided by 6, so that is 12 meter per second squared. Ayan na siya. Okay? So, also na inaasa Newton's law. Newton's laws, or Newton's second law, siya ang mo-explain sa behavior sa mga object pag wala na siya na balance. Okay, so pag na-balance, sa first law, which is the law of inertia, pero pag unbalance or naay nabilingin nga net force sa imuhang object, then it is part of the second law. Ano siya iyahang meaning. No? Or mao na siya ang gina-provide sa second law. Okay, so the law states that unbalanced forces causes objects to accelerate, and then that acceleration is directly proportional to the net force and inversely proportional to the mass. Mao na siya ang meaning sa ato ang second law. Okay, so here we have a net force of 15 newtons that is exerted on an encyclopedia to cause it to accelerate at 5 meter per second square. Determine the mass of the encyclopedia. So 15, no? F net divided by mass acceleration. So this is just easy. 15 nga F net, acceleration nga 5. They are in kanang nag-atbang man sila. So it means we have to divide them. So 15 divided by 5, that is 3. So mass is equal to 3 kilogram. No, so another one. Suppose that a sled is accelerating at the rate of 2 meter per second squared. What will happen if your net force is tripled and your mass is doubled? So what is the new acceleration of the sled? First is, this is our old acceleration. Okay, that is 2. What will happen if you triple the net force? Diba, net force and acceleration are, they are directly proportional. So, unsay mahitabo sa atong net force, mao po'y mahitabo sa atong acceleration. So, it means if the net force is tripled, the acceleration will also triple. So, it becomes 6 meters per second squared. Now, ningon mo po siya that mass is doubled, and mass with acceleration is inversely proportional. So, if your mass is doubled, your acceleration is halved. So it means that the new acceleration will be 3 meters per second squared. No? So I hope that is clear, because what happens to the mass inverse CS acceleration. What happens to the net force will also happen to the acceleration. No? So mao na siyang relationship nila to. So what if same gihapon acceleration, the original acceleration is 2 meter per second, but the net force is also tripled, same gihapon, pero the mass is halved. What will happen to your acceleration? So 2, net force is tripled, so our acceleration is also tripled, so 6 gihapon. Now, since the mass is halved, what will happen to our acceleration? It becomes doubled. So the answer here is 12. So if it is half, ang opposite ana is um, doubled. But if it is, kunwari, nahimo siyang 1/3, of course, ang opposite ana is tripled. If nahimo siyang 1/4, then ang iyang opposite is ma-quadruple or ma-times 4. Ana siya. 1/5, 1/5, then it becomes times 5, so on and so forth. Ana siya ang iyang relationship between mass and acceleration. Okay? So, net force is the vector sum of all individual forces. Now, vector sum na siya sa tanan ng mga forces present sa imuhang object. Now, naatay tulo na gamiton na formula in getting all the individual forces. Kung na ay mga missing na mga forces and you need to solve for it. Now, kani sila na mga formulas ang dapat na gamiton. First is, of course, the second law. The F net is equal to mass, or the net force is equal to mass times acceleration. Next is the equation for the gravitational force. F grav is equal to mg, also called as, F grav is also called as weight. No? Then we also have this frictional force. Ginagamit po niya siya. Okay, so for example here, okay, so diri ata mag-focus. So an applied force of 50 Newton is used. So applied 50 newtons to the right. So naata diri. Then naa siya frictional surface nga na ay 10 Newton nga friction. Of course, friction, no? Remember that friction opposes the motion. So if it is kanang gi-applyan siya og 50 newtons to the right, syempre ang friction mo oppose siya or moadto siya sa opposite in direction. So it is going to the left. Now use this diagram, this free body diagram, to determine the normal force, kaning blank, the net force, the mass, and the acceleration of the object. Okay, so thing here is, if ing ani na mga situation neglect air resistance, no, kusang imuhang F grav, mao siya imuhang net force. Ma'am, always ba na siya? In this case, yes. Okay, in this case, second law man siya. In this case, yes. Mag equal si net force o si F grav. Okay, because wala man siya yung na siya sa elevator or nag-accelerate ang body upward or downward, wala. Ngayon na siya na yung ani situation. So it means the net force, the normal force and the gravitational force is equal. Therefore, canceling both of them. Okay? Walay mabilin sa vertical. Di pareho man. Now, it doesn't mean nga nag-cancel sila, dili na ninyo siya isulat sa free body diagram. Isulat gihapon ninyo siya kay present magyapon sila duha. Cancel lang. Okay? Now, then we have the 50 application, and then application applied force, and then we have the frictional force. So 50, ano stand? So you have a net force of 40 newtons. Asa man ang direction sa itong net force? It is going to the right. Kay mas dako si right kaysa kay left. So it means siya ang mo-prevail na direction. Okay? So since we have direction nga right, we can infer that the acceleration is also going to the right. Same man silang direction. Okay? Now, how can we solve for these two missing values? First is we can get the mass with the F graph. If you have remembered, F graph is equal to mass times the G. G is 9.8 or 9.81. So 80 divided by the G, which is 9.81. So we can say that our mass, is 8.16. 8.16 kilograms. So nanatay F net, nanatay mass, we can get the acceleration using the second law. So F net is equal to mass times acceleration. F net and mass, or sila sa nagtabok sila, opposite sila. So it means divide 40 by 8.16. So 40 divided by 8.16, our acceleration is 4.9. Okay? Ano siya. Then, nakompleto na dahil nato siya. 4.9, then acceleration man siya, so meters per second squared. Another one. Okay, so here is na po tayo bago. We have this mu. Mu is the coefficient of friction. Okay? Coefficient of friction ang tawag ana niya, or what we call mu. Okay? So mu is it is added here. So it means pahitaon na to siya, no? So here the F gap is 100, so the normal force is also 100. So cancel sila. So we have 20 and 10. Wala tong net force, we have 10 newtons. Oops, sorry. 10 newtons asa padulong sa right, because mas dako si right, si applied force kaysa kay friction. So it means the acceleration is also to the right. Now we'll get the mass. So 100 using the weight formula or the FG formula. Mass times G. So 100 divided by 9.8, we have 100 divided, okay. So we have 10.2. 2 na siya. 2. Okay. So 10 Newton divided by 10.2, we have the acceleration of 0.98. 980. Ano? 0.980. Okay. So, nagyapon tayo mu. Wala man siya apil diri. But mu can be solved by the friction formula. Kani. Kung naa kay friction, na kay normal force, makita nimo si mu. So, going back there, normal force is 100, friction force is 10. So, friction is equal to mu times the F norm. Times na siya. F norm. No? So 10 divided by 100, we can get the mu. So that is 0 0.1. 10 divided by 100. 0 0.1. So din na siya si mu, ma'am. Mu is a coefficient of friction, or magdepend na siya sa material sa imuhang surface. So different material, let's say asfalto, semento, no? Ice, non frictionless na kanang, let's say ice or snow, naana sila friction, no? And magdepende na siya sa ilang object. So if this is 0 0.1, iyahang friction, so I think that is ice. Okay. Ice ba? 0 0.1. Waxwood on wet snow. It means it is snow. Na siya sa wet snow. Ana siya ang iyahang meaning. So this is on the friction na part sa ato ang PPT. Ito sa friction. So another one is here. A 5 kilogram object is sliding to the right and encountering a friction force that slows it down. So na siya coefficient of friction, that is 0 0.1. Pero, ganit. Na siya coefficient of friction, na siya mass. But the rest is blank. Okay, the rest is blank. So, pangitaon nato siya. But, makitaan man nimo ang F-graph because you have mass. No? So, using the F-graph formula, so 5 multiplied by the G, which is 9.8 or 9.81, 9.8. So, we have an F-graph of 49. Okay, so if your F-graph is 49, your F-norm is also 49. Ma'am, wala lagi siya applied force. Yes, because it is sliding. Remember, if it is sliding, in motion na siya daan. And an object in motion will remain in motion. No need to apply force. Kaya move naman siya daan. Okay? Now, because it has coefficient of friction, you should always predict na naapod na siya friction na force. No, naman siya coefficient of friction. So, na siya frictional force. So, what is our friction? Na naman tayo normal force. Na tayo 0.1. So, using the friction formula, F fric is equal to the mu. Mu na siya. Lisod kayo. Okay. Then, multiplied by the net force, or Fn. So 0.1 multiplied by 4.9, our friction is 4.9. Okay? So since na-cancel man sila diri as a vertical, walay partners to friction, so it means the friction itself is our F net. Asa man siya padulong? Left. It's going to the left. So since our F net is going to the left, acceleration is going to the left too. How to get the acceleration? 4.9 divided by 5. Ika na siya sa net sa second law. F net is equal to mass times acceleration. So 4.9 divided by 5, the acceleration is 0.98 meter per second squared going to the left. Ano na siya? Now, okay. So what if the acceleration is 0? Then nakay mass nga 10 kilogram, then you have a coefficient of friction that is 2. What will happen? Remember that if your acceleration is 0, law of inertia na siya. 'Di ba? If you have remembered katong diagram nato na if the forces are balanced, the acceleration is zero. So it means balance man, walay net force. Okay? So the answer here, the net force is also zero. Okay? But kompletuhon pa man nato ni siya. So isolve gyapon nato sila. Okay? Ang also may meaning ani. So it means kay zero man ang net force, si friction og si F up is balance, si F norm og si F grav is also balance para zero. Okay? So here we have the F grav using the mass. We can say that our F grav 10 multiplied by 9.8, we have 98. F norm is also 98. The balance. How about the friction? We can get the friction by the friction formula. Okay, friction formula, that is 0.2 mu multiplied by the normal force, which is 98. So it means your friction is 19.6. Okay, zero man atong net force, your F app is also 19.6. I hope that is clear. Okay, net force is zero. Walay mabilin. So, cancel. Makancel sa dire. Kanipod na part. Okay? Next one. So, we have a right force of 5 kilogram. Nata acceleration nga 2 meter per second squared. It's a right. So, what will happen to your net force? Okay, natay mu po. Natay mu nga 0.1. So, pwede na ito ma-solve dayon ang atong F net. So, using the second law, F net is equal to, or net force is equal to mass times acceleration. So 5 multiplied by 2, that is 10. Unsa ang iyahang direction? Since the acceleration is to the right, your F net is also to the right. Usay ginahatag anak niya sa ato. It means ang right na part is bigger by 10 nga Newton kaysa sa pikas. Okay? I hope that is clear. So it means mas dako si F up og 10 ka newtons kaysa kay friction. Pwede pa nato makitaan si F up kay wala pa man ta kabalo unsa atong friction. Okay, so F grav. So F grav, we can get that using the F grav formula. Fg is equal to mg. Mass is 5. G is 9.8. So it means that the F grav is 49. Normal force is also 49. So cancel. Since we have the mu and the normal force, we can get the friction by the friction formula. So friction is equal to 0.1 multiplied by the normal force, which is 49. So it means our friction is 4.9. Diba ningon ta na ang right side, net force is 10 Newton to the right, so it means the F up is bigger than the friction by 10 newtons. So 10 plus 4.9, F up is 14.9. And that's how you complete this free body diagram. Kani siya nga situation. Okay? Okay, last one. So we have, wala tayo mu, natay mass, natay acceleration, natay F up, na 25. So we can get the F net using the second law. You can get the net force, mass times acceleration. Okay, so 4 multiplied by 2.5, our net force is 10. Okay? Then, sa man nato ang direction, right pa nato acceleration, right po ni siya. So it means the right side is bigger than the left side by 10 newtons. So if 25 si up minus 10, it means that our friction is 15. Diba? In that way, the applied force or the right side na force is bigger than the left side by 10. So tama si F net. Natama siya sa F net. Okay? Now we have the F graph. F graph natin mass. So using the F graph na formula. So 4 kilogram mass multiplied by the 9.8. Okay, so that is 39.2. So if that is 39.2, this is also 39.2. Cancel. Okay. Pero dapat tayo mu. So to get the mu, we will use the friction formula. Okay, where we are going to solve mali. Friction formula, so we have 15 newtons as our friction. We're finding the mu. Then our normal force nga 39.2. So 15 divided by 39.2, our mu is 0.3 na siya. 83. And that's how you complete that free body diagram. And that is all for the second law. See you next video. Bye.